Voluntary. Voluntary, I just talked to you about KOC, or the oil sector, wanting to comply. They want to be good citizens, okay? So they voluntarily, okay, help. Now, you know that we changed the two Articles 76 and 79 about the air. These articles are not the final say, and these are laws, but the regulations are sector-specific. Exploration and production, different than petrochemical, different than cement, okay, and different than the others. When we went to the private sector, then there is the mandatory. Mandatory means you have a stick. If you don't comply, I will hit you. This is something that we would like to avoid here, which doesn't work, which does not achieve goals. Whatever goals we talked about right there, they cannot be achieved by a stick and a carrot in Kuwait. Then we go to the market-based. What do we mean by market-based? Have we all heard about what we call the Environmental Compliance Fund? Yeah, this is a brand new project where we go to the private sector. Okay, the project is supported by the World Bank. Where we go to the private sector, okay, we say, okay, and you don't have a lot of money just like the oil sector, but you need control technology in order to improve the air quality. So why don't we do a survey there? Same baseline study, okay? Shukran bin Nasser. Same baseline study. And then we identify control technologies, and we put a price on such control technologies, okay? And we give them to the industrial bank, and they give interest-free loans to the private sector to improve their performance. And at the end of the day, we integrated all, okay, in one system. Requirements. We talked about laws, legislations, regulations, permits, licenses, guidances, and policies. All of these are required, and all of these are sector-specific. They are operation-specific. Thank you. I'm fine. They are operation-specific. Booster stations are different than gathering centers. We are going to get into, but again, this is no rocket science. The KOC EPA partnership. That was signed, and this project started 8 months ago, and Dr. Samir mentioned that KOC invested 5 million KD. For what? To establish regulatory requirements of the law, to put their plans into compliance, and to facilitate and to provide EPA with tools to monitoring them, so they can be sure that such goals that we talked about are met. Okay, and the guidelines will include specific regulatory requirements for the oil exploration and production services. And I'm not going to go I can talk a lot more and more and more, and I will leave the rest for questions. So in summary, I talked about what are the drivers of the partnership. Why do we need partnerships? We also talked about the situation of the oil sector, and we talked about the situation of the regulatory agency and how we can put them together, okay? And I presented that KOC already started with this, and I'm ready for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sami. Before we open the floor for question, I have a question for the three of our distinguished speakers. Do we really have the appropriate level of confidence and trust between the industry represented by not only the oil sector, but the oil sector and the private sector industry, and EPA and the regulator body? الميكروفون لو تكرم. مايك.
I'm simply saying that we are hardly working on this. For example, when we set our plan for environmental compliance. We added something. I don't think that many countries are doing this by establishing a fund to help factories in complying with the environmental regulations. This is for the first time that Kuwait really is doing that. We are working now with the international, the World Bank, to have a very good system, and we will be able after that to offer long-term loans to these factories to really rebuild the factories and repair the damage. This is a major step to get closer to them. The second major step is what Dr. Sami is saying. And we believe in partnership. We believe that we work together. And I'm going to give you one example, because you are one of us, you were our leader for a number of years. I remember very well that one of the petrochemicals companies, in our regulations, total dissolved solids is the maximum allowed is 1,500 milligram per liter. And this company is discharging regularly 32,000 milligram per liter. From 1,500, this is the EVA, to 30,000. So really now we have to get closer to each other. We have to discuss this problem. We have really to build up regulations based in giving time for these companies to comply with us and to comply with international standards and regulations as well. Thank you.
Please feel free.
I don't think it's the issue over here. Yeah, I don't think the issue is a confidence issue or a trust issue. It's basically its capabilities. I think the capabilities might exist at some place, but does not exist on the others. That's why I think AOC on the example that set for us, that collaboration and cooperation with EPA in reaching set goals and helping EPA, and of course the help of EPA for them on the regulations. No, it's a collaboration issue. It's not an issue of a trust or existence or doesn't exist. That's my opinion.
Okay, great. 100%.
The first step to achieve such confidence, Dr. Jassim, is to avoid this deterrence culture. We have to adopt other methodologies to build the trust between the two entities. And when we talk about systems and programs, we talk about something at the banner there, is to change the culture. And what we are working on within these programs is to change the culture so we both accept each other, the regulators and the regulated community. We want to avoid this stick and a carrot methodology and believe that the oil sector has the capability, okay, to comply with whatever EPA likes, whereas the other sectors, okay, have to accept assistance, financial assistance, okay, and when they both sit down together with a full understanding, with high capabilities, okay, I think we can achieve this. But this project is all about gaining confidence and establishing trust between the two parties.
Now, do you generalize really this kind of, I would say, status, for the rest of the GCC countries, knowing the differences between, each state within the GCC? I served in the GCC ministerial office, and I've seen it. I've seen the differences within each state between the industry and the environmental agencies.